A film focusing on the clown prince of crime himself was recently released to critical acclaim. Before reviewing the film and later discussing spoilers, it's important I share my initial skepticism concerning this whole idea. From the trailers, it felt like Joker was irrelevant to this film. There seemed to be the story of a totally new character who vaguely resembled Batman's iconic foe. Even giving Joker a conclusive backstory is counterproductive when his ambiguous past is a key characteristic. Right, it's true that Batman the Killing Joke indicates a backstory, but it's implied to be viewed from his perspective, and I believe, perhaps controversially, that a psychotic master manipulator is probably not that truthful. I initially intended to avoid this film, until I remembered that I really didn't like the animated adaptation of Batman the Killing Joke, despite the fact the second half of that film fluently translates the comic it's based on, meaning that faithfulness to the source material isn't always an indicator of quality. My usual distaste of giving Joker backstory was more related to the fact that, typically, there's no real attempt to enhance his personality in the process. For example, in Tim Burton's first Batman film, as well as in the animated Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which is incidentally my favourite Batman film, Joker's backstory essentially amounts to him being exactly the same, but slightly less pale. What a revelation! How did they write that? The idea of failing to enhance his personality is completely averted by 2019's Joker, which is a masterclass in patient, thoughtful character study, enhanced by Joaquin Phoenix's brilliant performance, which channels underlying uncertainty, discomfort, measured moments of collected theatrics, and eventual, disturbing confidence when his descent into villainy is concluded. Oh damn, now you know Joker's a villain, I've totally spoiled the film! Due to logically crafted screenwriting, the character begins the film with clear, if contained, instability, rather than creating a contrived, melodramatic tale of a well-adjusted person abruptly turning evil. Another major concern regarding this film was a possible lack of humour. While humour isn't usually a priority in psychological crime films, this one focuses on a clown-inspired character called Joker, and thankfully, humour is apparent. All comedic moments are suitably sinister, uniquely subtle, and delivered so effectively that the tension of the film never suffers. As others have acknowledged, Gotham is explored much more extensively in this film, as a decaying hellhole rife with uninhibited corruption. Gotham City's character is further complicated by several supporting roles, including a conviction-filled performance from Robert Deniro, who here is filling a role comparable to the one filled by Jerry Lewis in The King of Comedy, a film by Martin Scorsese that Lewis starred in alongside a young, Robert De Niro. King of Comedy is a film by which 2019's Joker was heavily influenced. 2019's Joker was also heavily influenced by the Joker. I'm glad he's finally getting exposure in pop culture. Among the many strengths of the film, the most unpredictable was its unpredictability. True, the conclusion is obvious, but little else before that point is. This is the point in the video where spoilers officially begin. To avoid them, go to the time that is currently being displayed on screen. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1! The Joker's start of darkness occurs when his condition to uncontrollably laugh angers a group of brutish businessmen. They proceed to beat him, and in retaliation he shoots all three fatally. In a less competent film, he'd be reduced to a bland representation of evil after this point. But instead, several other events unfold, including the reveal that all the scenes involving a romantic subplot were hallucinatory, introducing the concept that the tale is being told through the eyes of madness, meaning that the ambiguity associated with the character is still prevalent even in this universe. It's established the murder of the three businessmen has inspired a rebellion from downtrodden Gothamites who view the murders as a necessary attack on the city's elite. Meanwhile, Joker is invited onto a chat show, hosted by a comedian who recently found footage of Joker's ill-fated stand-up attempt. En route to the show, Joker uses several of his supporters to indirectly kill two detectives who'd viewed him as a suspect of the murders, continuing his improvised spree of destruction. He also painted his tongue at one point. That's disturbing. Thus far, Joker has evaded capture. Later, he arrives at the chat show in full makeup, having adopted the Joker persona. He confesses to his previous murders live on air and in cold blood murders the chat show host. He also paints his tongue at one point, that's just disturbing. After being apprehended by the police, he is soon freed from their clutches by two of his masked supporters. Another of his masked supporters is soon shown, approaching a wealthy couple with a child who've recently left a cinema. The couple are fatally shot. The couple in question, Thomas and Martha Wayne, and the child, Bruce Wayne, providing a modified origin story for the Dark Knight in what was otherwise a solo film. The inclusion of Bruce Wayne was viewed as a negative by markers of the Cosmonaut Variety Hour, but for me it gave the film an additional sense of purpose. High Top Films theorised that, were this an independent film on a new character, it would receive little acclaim. Initially, I'd have agreed, but the film is such a broad adaptation that, in my opinion, a given viewer's enjoyment of Batman in general is almost irrelevant to their enjoyment of this film. Connections to the characters created by DC are simply used as flavour, and the film is never dependent on these factors. The level of creative freedom offered by the film, and the satisfaction that arrives when references to Batman lore do appear, contribute to this film being a perfect origin story. High Top Films also mentioned that certain situations are presented in a forced or cliched manner, and I do agree with this. However, these moments were only problematic for me because of how often they were avoided elsewhere in the film. My rating for Joker is 9 out of 10, but I'm not the only person with opinions, just the only person whose opinions matter. Well, that's not true either. I'm also not the only person who went to see this film with me. In a future video, the views of trusted associate Tom Faulkner will be shared. You may remember him from my Avengers Endgame video a few months ago. I don't. Until then, and to conclude, thanks to striking cinematography, extremely capable performances, an atmospheric score, with a triumphantly versatile soundtrack, even though I was genuinely disturbed by the use of a Gary Glitter song, necessary dark humour and tension, and nearly impeccable pacing, this level of ambition from a modern day comic book inspired blockbuster deserves all the praise it receives. Also, he paints over his tongue at one point, that's disturbing. In the white room with black curtains at the station. That's all I can remember.